Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. It is Tuesday night. It is 9 p.m. on the dot, and we are here to talk to you about this Pittsburgh Steelers team. But first, I have to bring him in with me, as always, just as he was on Sunday, my big brother, Rich. Rich, how's it going tonight?
We will breathe in the sweet smell of victory again.
Oh, it's been too long since I've heard you breathe. Actually, I heard you breathe it at the stadium, but it's the first. Yeah. It's been too long hearing you breathe it in through the microphone. It really is. Oh, it was great.
It was great. It was doing well. Always much better to get up and go to work on a Monday morning when the Steelers have won on Sunday.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's so funny because I even said this to a Broncos fan who started talking to me. You missed this. You were walking a little bit ahead of me as I was walking up the ramp out of the Gateway Clipper, at over at why can't I remember what it's called? Station Square.
Station Square.
Walking up the ramp out of there, and there was a Broncos fan there. He was telling me he was from Detroit. He had a long drive home that night and everything. And I told him, I said, I've always said I would much rather, if you're going to be dealing with a loss, it's much easier to deal with in the stadium than it is sitting on my couch. For some reason, I've never been able to explain it. But you know what? There's also nothing like that win at the stadium. Rich, I mean, you were there. We weren't sitting together. I had my son. You had your son. We traveled together. We both sat on our respective seats for our season tickets. And I have to ask, have you watched the game at all on replay or anything since?
No.
I haven't had time. I'm like, I so want to sit down. I mean, and I don't even care about the all 22. I just want to sit down and watch the TV broadcast because I haven't had a chance to see it.
I don't have to worry about the all 22 because, as far up as my seats are, that's what I see.
Yeah, that's basically what I mean. And that's part of what I think is I have that view. Like, for example, that's why I had to ask you right after the game.
Actually, to see both the offense and the defense and everything going on, I bet you my seats are a little better being up high than where yours down low because players getting away down in your seats.
Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, you could probably see the other end of the field a little bit better, but I mean, I love it because I can see the play and the scoreboard without even having to move my eyes. I can see it all, and it's really nice. But that Chase Claypool touchdown, when Ben went to throw the ball, I screamed, he's got him, because you could see it was like the perfect line from my seats, from where Ben was going directly where he was throwing to. And you could just see that even though if you watch it on the TV view, when they showed the replay, I'm like, he didn't look all that open there, but you could see when he threw that ball that Chase Claypool was going to go up and get that ball and score that touchdown. And so many great things to talk about with this game, but I just wanted to ask if you had seen the replay. I've just been so busy trying to catch up on everything with the website and everything else by being gone that I just haven't been able to sit down and put the game on and watch it. So I'm still hoping to do that soon because I definitely don't want to miss that. But everything that we talk about from the perspective of the game, we saw from our own perspective from the stadium and on replays on the boards there, and wasn't based on hearing what the commentators have to say. Sometimes I like to go back and listen just to hear if the commentators are saying kind of what we had instead of us was people around us. What were we all saying? Because I don't know about you. I talk to everyone around me. That's that's me. That's just how I am. And somebody did ask,
if I were sitting in,
wants to know if I've slept. Yes, I have slept a little bit. So what's up, Rich?
I probably would have talked to people who were in your seats. We did not have what I would call a great crew around us in our seats. Actually, we were lucky. There's nobody sitting right in front of us.
Oh, wow. There you go. Well, honestly, there was nobody sitting right in front of me, but the guy that had 3 seats next to me, they actually had 11. They were from Lancaster. They had 11 seats. They have season tickets and they're spread out all over the place. They were rotating people in and out. But the guy that started there, it was him and his 2 sons, both of them there for their very first game. I had my son there for his very first game. We had the one of his sons. So because of the guy that was in front of him is a guy that's at every game I always say hey to. Told him, hey, rather than be right behind me, come right here and sit in this open one right there. And he did. So that's what I had in front of me, was one of the kids in it. So it was great. I would even tell them when people stood up, I'm like, stand on the seat. You're fine. I can see over you. And it was nice having. I love where my seats are because the people around me are always so great. And it was wonderful because it had been almost 2 years. The last time I'd been there was the last home game of 2019. And you walk in the stadium and it just felt like we were just there.
Yeah.
It felt like we had just been there. I go and I'm seeing people at their seats and I'm waving to them and I'm giving them high fives during the game. And it was like, yeah, it seems like it had just been a week since we had been there. It was just really great to talk about their being in the stadium, but we'll get to that more. Let's talk about, we got some news of some Steelers happenings going on. Some good, some bad, some, I don't know what to think about it. There we go. There's BMK. He said it was great seeing you there, Dave. I did a post-game show with him. I'm really mad at YouTube because I did 2 quick shows on YouTube Live, if you haven't caught them. The first one, it says, okay, turn your cameras or turn your phone sideways in order to record. So I did it. I record. Everything's great. It tells me to do it on the second episode, and it records the whole thing sideways. And it plays it sideways on YouTube. And YouTube doesn't let you edit it. You can't flip it. I'm so mad. But I'm sorry I screwed that up, or YouTube screwed that up. But that was a real fun show with them. But let's hit some news. Coach Tomlin spoke today, said what everybody knew was happening. You knew Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be going on the reserved injured list. He's not there yet. We'll talk about that in a second. But he confirmed there was varying reports. Some said he already had a surgery. Some said it was later in the week. Juju's surgery is tomorrow, Wednesday, according to Coach Tomlin. No one is saying the term season ending, just like they didn't say it with Tyson Alualu, because with the rules, there's no reason to deem that, although it's chances are that's really what it is, unless something changes. So first things first, thoughts on the loss of Juju Smith-Schuster?
It hurts. I mean, you hate to lose anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
But, hate to lose anybody, and you hate to lose Juju. He's a real leader. He's also a fantastic run blocker from the wide receiver position. Not going to be, what I want to say, easy to replace. I mean, I think we have the depth and able that we'll be able to, but I think it'll be more of an approach by committee.
Yeah.
Depending on what's trying to get done. And I feel bad for Juju.
Yeah. Natty P said this in our Slack channel. It's something I actually thought of myself, is like, with Juju not having much of a body of work this year, coming back for the one season, to try to get the payday. This is why people say, get the payday. These players should get the payday when they can, because you never know when something like this is going to happen. But now it's a possibility. Maybe he wants to come, be able to rehab and come back somewhere familiar coming back from injury, even if it's just another 1-year deal. That's something that we're going to talk about more in 2022. We're just acknowledging it now. We'll have that discussion more at a later day. There is something I do want to bring up. I found it very interesting because I do the PFF articles for the website. I'm intrigued by their scores. I don't always agree with them. And the reason I say I'm intrigued by them is I want to see if they see what I see. Wow. Did I say that right? I want to see if they see what I see. Yeah.
Yes, you did say it right. It just,
We'll go with it. And I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, well, that's what I thought. And sometimes like they had Kendrick Green absolute poo-poo for this week. Now, I think he had a better week last week, but I didn't think he was absolute garbage. And what's crazy
is garbage either.
Individually, 3 of the 5 linemen, they had lower scores than the previous week, and Chooks couldn't have a lower one because he didn't play. Which I thought was interesting, because this line, we'll be talking about the line even more with I'm not saying they're great. I'm just saying us being math guys, and you're talking about trends and graphs, I like the upward slope of their of how they are playing. But and looking at PFF, I looked up something today because a number really stood out to me. So I'm like, I want to dive into this a little bit more. Do you know, regardless of snaps, number of snaps, do you know who the number one ranked run blocking wide receiver is in the NFL? You'll probably never. I'll give you a hint. You're wearing the right emblem on your hat. It is someone from the Steelers, but I think you'll be surprised who it is.
No, it won't.
It is.
It is Cody White.
It is. You read my art? Did you read my article?
Yes, I did. So take that.
It's Cody White. So if you're saying, "Oh man, they're going to really miss somebody who could maybe get in there and run block," you have a wide receiver that can fill in there. I also think James Washington could do it well. Yeah. Also, but you don't want to just. They say that you want to. A lot of people are going to cover this loss together, but at the same time, having to do it with so many different people where you have to put them in different situations isn't always the best scenario either, because then you know what's coming. Prime example, the Steelers tried to cover the loss of Ryan Shazier right after his injury by saying, "Oh, well, we'll have this person in this situation and this person in that situation." The problem is you were guessing at the right situation on defense. And then when you're talking offense, you're talking about, letting the other team know what you're going to be doing based on that at times. So if there was any position group where you could afford one injury, I would say wide receiver is the one that was you could say that the most, but unfortunately their margin for error is gone. It can't be somebody else is dinged up for a week because you've already lost that luxury with Juju. So speedy recovery, Juju Smith-Schuster. We want to see you back in the NFL, hopefully in the black and gold in the future. Other things, still no word on Zach Banner or I can't remember, Anthony McFarland Jr. They both could be back for this week. Banner is pretty sure he's going to be back because his 21 days is running out. I've already got the article ready. I'm thinking Banner's going to get activated when Juju goes on the IR. That's what I'm thinking. McFarland is probably going to be, they'll probably cut a running back. There's no reason to keep an extra one. So any thoughts on that real quick, Rich?
No, just waiting to see what we do.
Yeah, just waiting to see. Just waiting. And and the Steelers did make a couple roster moves today in regards to the practice squad. They signed, this was reported yesterday, they signed wide receiver Anthony Miller, who was I think he was a second round pick of the Bears, got traded to the Texans, and then the Texans released him. And he was going to sign to the practice squad of the Jaguars, and then he got a call from the Steelers and said, "Oh wait, let's go to that team instead." So that's what they have there. Then the other signing, I think, was a defensive lineman. I know they cut a nose tackle, but the other news is they
signed one in his place.
Yeah, but now they have an empty spot on their practice squad because, in case you didn't catch this news, one of their practice squad players was poached by the Detroit Lions, cornerback Mark Gilbert, who was an undrafted free agent this year. Who was on the practice squad, got signed by the Detroit Lions. So therefore, they're going to have another roster or practice squad spot open. So they'll be looking somewhere there. Some thought maybe Rashad Coward would end up on the practice squad after he was cut last week, because that was kind of, showing that Banner was going to be back the next week. He actually signed with the Jaguars. Yeah, he signed with the Jaguars. So that's what it was. Thank you. Brad said it. Defensive tackle Isaiah Mack. That's who it was. Okay. So and Captain Underpants says 2 players were poached. Coward was not poached. He wasn't on the practice squad. He was a free agent because the Steelers released him on Saturday when they signed Cody White to the 53. So that's the roster moves that went on today. Still no word on the injured players. We don't know Devin Bush, the extent of his groin injury, the guys that missed last week. That's all going to be, we'll see how they practice, pretty much by what Coach Tomlin said. Anything else about the roster? Are you ready to dive into stuff?
Let's dive.
Let's dive. All right. So what we're talking about tonight is
prepare to rig for dive.
There you go. We want to look at week 5. We like to sum up the week that happened and then move forward into the next week. Sometimes we don't get into much moving forward when there's a lot to break down from the week before. But we're kind of doing it all together this week because we want to take what the Steelers did and the success that they had. And you're like, well, were they that successful? Hey, what is the ultimate gauge of success in this league? Wins and losses. They got to win. So you want to take the things that the Steelers did well this week and what can they build on moving forward into week 6. And I almost want to say and beyond, but I still think the Steelers are in a week by week mode. I really do. You don't worry about getting to 10 wins. You got to worry about getting your 3rd win. You don't worry about what are you going to be at this point of the season. You got to worry about getting through the next game and giving your best chance to win there. So the Steelers have a chance to get to 500 before their bye. What can they do from this past week? Rich, what's the biggest thing to you that stood out on Sunday where you really liked what the Steelers were doing that they need to continue and even build upon?
I'm just
There's a lot.
There is. Overall, offensive line play. The run blocking much better. The pass blocking was much better. Yeah. Ben was only hit twice dropping back for passes. Mm-hmm. And, we ran for 47
147 as a team. Yep.
Yeah. And let's see. Najee was the first 100-yard rusher against Denver since I saw, and I don't remember what it was. It's been a while.
Yeah. It was the last 100-yard rusher. I'm pretty sure it was week 5 of last year, James.
Yeah,
Conner?
Something like that.
I mean, the Steelers went over.
No, not a 100-yard rusher for us. He was the first 100-yard rusher against Denver.
Oh, against Denver. I thought you were saying for the Steelers. Yeah.
I think even longer than that.
Yeah.
It was pretty long, if I remember correctly. So,
yeah.
I'd like to see that continue. Because see, this stuff just all snowballs together. Because when you can run the ball as well as the Steelers did, then Ben only had to throw the ball 25 times, and that's where we need to be.
Yeah. I mean, that was the offensive PFF article today was Ben Roethlisberger has his best game of the season when he throws the least number of passes. By throwing less passes, he played better. But honestly, it's never about the numbers. It's never about just saying just pass less. It's the game situation dictated it, and the Steelers could do stuff. I'll tell you the number one thing to me, and it's something I should have looked up, and I wanted to look up, and then things got away from me. So I don't have the specific numbers, but you know what? I'll probably look at these numbers for Stat Geek. So this is a little bit of a glimpse into that if you're listening to this and you're one of my nerds of steel. And that is first down gains. I mean, Coach Tomlin talked about it today. It's, playing ahead of the sticks, not getting behind the sticks. When the first game I watched at Jeff's house this season was the Bengals game. And that was Jeff turned to me at one point and just said, can they have a second down that's not a double digit to go? It's like it was constantly, whether it was a penalty or a negative play on first down, it was very rare that they had second down and 10, 9 or less. It was constantly double digits. They didn't have that. Week.
They were constantly getting, 4 to 7 yards on first down. We had a couple times, I think we had a 2nd and 6, but we had a lot of 2nd and 3s, 2nd and 4s. Yeah. Oh, that's awfully nice.
It seemed like a lot of times.
But the most
common number to me felt like 6. Like every time Najee was running on first down, it seemed like he was getting 6 yards. That's a great first down play.
Sure. And then when we were ending up in third downs, we had a lot of 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Extremely makeable third downs.
Yeah.
And our third down conversion rate went up. We were 7 of 12.
7 of 12. Love it.
But we weren't even getting to third down all that often.
I know. That was great. It's so funny because early on, the Steelers converted their first 4 third downs. I actually said it to the guys next to me. I'm like, they're 4 for 4 on third downs. I think the first one they didn't convert was the fumble, if you know what I mean. I think that was a third down. But, the 50-yard, I was really mad at friggin' Benny Snell dropping that pass on the first drive. I'm like, that's a drive killer. That's a drive. It was 2nd and 7, and he had, minimum, it was going to be 4 yards. Even if it was Benny Snell not getting any more yardage early in the game, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
All he has to do is catch it, and he's going to get 4 yards, and you're looking at a 3rd and 3. And I'm like, now it's 3rd and 7. Oh my goodness, that's a drive killer. Thank goodness. See, and everyone hates the going deep on third down until it works, and it's a 50-yard touchdown right in front of my face in the end zone. Right?
Yeah, but I liked that play call better than some of the others. I don't like the 50-50 balls to Chase Claypool on.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
3rd and long, or he
had him. He had Deontay Johnson.
Yes, Deontay Johnson was there. He was open. He actually did a nice job there. Actually held the safety with his eyes a little. Held the safety to the middle of the field, and then back out to Deontay and threw the ball.
Yeah.
Need more of that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where the defense is based. Everyone knows, not everyone knows, most people know that Ben Roethlisberger reads the defense pre-snap and based on what they do, knows what he's going to do within a given play. It's almost like a lot of times on third and shorts or what thing like that, they set up in a defense to where they're saying your open shot's the deep ball. So Ben takes it because that's the read. And guess what? When they execute it well, it's fantastic. And guess what teams can't do? The teams can't say, "Oh, it's third down. Yeah, you're gonna have to beat us deep in order to convert this." When you actually convert them, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's the thing. I had said it before. I'm like, I'm pretty sure was it this show that I went off on it? The teams were just daring Ben Roethlisberger to beat them, and he just wasn't. Yeah, I thought it was. And guess what he did this week? He beat right at first drive. Yep. He's like, okay, let's do it. We're going to connect this time. And to me, that set up the entire game. That set the tone for the entire game. And it really helped that the Steelers were already to the 50-yard line. They had moved the ball on the opening drive, not that far, and then boom, hit that play. And it's like, okay, now what you're going to do? You're going to give us the deep ball. We'll take the deep ball. Guess what that opens up? Boom. There goes Najee Harris running the ball. It was great. I love it. I could go on and on about it. So, all right. So you said the offensive line, definitely need to have this offensive line continue to grow. Coach Tomlin was asked about this today. And I thought it was interesting because the way that the question was shaped was, all right, coach, now that the offensive line had a good game, how do you make sure they keep working hard and don't get complacent? That's basically how it was asked. I'm summing it up, with how they did. And Coach Tomlin's like, that was me a week ago. I thought they played good the week before. And I challenged them to, hey, don't be satisfied with how you guys, with the improvement that you made to get to here. You've got to be even better. And they did. So I'm thinking it's going to be the same challenge. Hey, there you go. We ran the ball. Ben had time to throw. Don't be satisfied with that. He was still sacked once and hit twice. Don't let that happen again. Okay. There was Najee Harris had at least one negative run. Don't let that happen again. Never be satisfied when it comes to those type of things. So, the offensive line got to continue to grow. Then what did I say? I said first downs. So that's two things that we have so far. Make sure you're getting positive yards on first down, getting good chunks, not getting behind the sticks. What's something else you might want to possibly mention? Something you saw on Sunday that you really want to see the Steelers, build upon and continue to do or do better?
Making the correct read. And I have one play in particular I want to bring up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ben did a lot better job making the right reads and getting the ball to the open guys.
Yeah.
Noticing where he had mismatches, and had that going. Okay. The long pass to Claypool over the middle.
Oh, the one that was the catch and run?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
All right. Claypool comes in motion. I turn to, I say to Kyle, they've got to go to Claypool here. I'd take that matchup all day long. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because I could tell you could tell by the shift of the defense that they were going man, and you had a linebacker on Chase Claypool.
Mm-hmm. It was Von Miller, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And you got, I thought, Ben, you've got to hit that matchup. He did, and then Chase continued to outrun guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was making that quick recognition. Chase running a good route. Chase Chase made a really nice cut inside to be open to the point where he could catch it and still run. But we need those plays, not just the long throws. We need the catch and run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to attest to that even more. What Ben Roethlisberger said in his post-game interview, which was, when the line's blocking like that, I can go through my progressions.
Yeah.
He could actually read what was going on and not just making his decision pre-snap of who he believed was going to be open based on the defensive formation. Now, that's what makes Ben Roethlisberger good, is that you can look at the defensive formation, look at who you think is going to be open, and know that that's where you're going to look first. What's happened in the past when he didn't trust the line is he instantly went to that first option, whether or not they were open or not. Now he admitted on Sunday he had time to actually look at his other options, and boy, it's the combination of that, having the time to do it and then making the right decision.
Yep.
You are spot on. So, I do have to say something before we finish this half. We're going to roll into some more of these, but I do have to say something because, when I get called out for screwing up, I have to admit when I screw up. And last week I kind of went on a little bit about, it was from the Green Bay game. It was the Trey Turner sack. And I said, oh, he didn't get beat. He blah, 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 blah. I went back and watched that play because some people are like, oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. I'm like, am I? I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. Go back and look at the play. So I went back and looked at the play, and I'm like, oh, dude, this was not the play I was thinking of. I don't know what I was thinking of, but he got driven off the ball so fast on that when Ben Roethlisberger got. So I have to let everyone know, yeah, I was way off base on that one. That was not at all how I remembered that play. I'm like, I don't know if I just didn't remember it right or was thinking of a different play, where it was going in that direction. I even went back and tried to look at a couple plays from the previous week to see if that's what I was thinking of. And I'm like, I don't have time to figure out how wrong I was. I'm just going to say, yeah, I was wrong. So I at least wanted to throw that out there. So, hey, do we have any? If we don't have as many people in the live chat tonight, I understand if you catch this on replay, because you all may be doing what I wish I could be doing right now as well. And that is, the Pittsburgh Penguins are opening up the NHL season, and they currently are up 2-0 in the second intermission. I just had to check in on that. So, anything else you want to say here before we roll into the second half and pick up some more stuff that the Steelers can build on? We've focused on the offense so far. We're going to roll over to defense. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I'll make one more quick offensive note.
Oh, sure. No, okay. Go ahead. That's fine. We're okay.
Okay. Loved the design of the play thrown to Zach Gentry.
Oh, yeah, that thing was beautiful.
It was a thing of beauty because it misdirected. I expected the ball totally to go elsewhere. It comes back to Gentry for a nice 13-yard gain, and I was like, hey, that was nice.
Yeah, and now this is the problem when I read too many of our stories on our editing dashboard and not on the website. And that is Jeffrey has a film room about that play. I think it comes out tomorrow. I don't think it's been published yet.
No,
but okay.
I think it is tomorrow.
He breaks down that play. So that
I was thrilled to see when he said he was going to break down that play on the Slack channel. I was like, oh, that's a good one. That was a good one.
And it really was. It really was. You know what? I have something else I'm going to have to talk about with the offense. So we will finish up with some offense when we come back into the second half, roll into the defense. And of course, we'll have to get our scores going forward this week. We'll talk a little bit about Seattle before we do that. So if you're with us on the audio side, go on ahead and click over. If you're with us here on YouTube or Facebook Live, we'll be back in just a few seconds. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the second half of the Scho Bro Show. This is part 2. I'm still behind the steel curtain editor, Dave Schofield, and with me, as always, my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are you?
Welcome to the Bro Show.
It is a victory Bro Show. It is we're talking about things that the Steelers can
nothing like breathing in that sweet smell at Heinz Field where when you take that deep breath, you get the smell of, river water and Iron City.
River water and Iron City. Gotta love it. And all you got to do is look towards the river, and there's the big Iron City sign up there. So, there's something else I wanted to talk about with the offense. So we've talked about some various things to build upon. We talked about the offensive line. We talked about success on first down. We talked about making good decisions with the passing game, and even with the running game with it seemed like Najee really saw things. Sometimes from our view in the seats, you could see there was times where they schemed open some pretty nice holes for him, and he just went. One of them is something that I wanted to address. One time, absolute huge hole for Najee Harris to run through. He was running away from where I was sitting, where I'm in the closed end of the stadium, and it was the guy sitting next to me.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one. I'll be interested to see if you're calling out the one I remember.
It was the guy sitting next to me. I said they kept switching up. Their family was rotating around seats. It was actually the granddad that was sitting next to me this time, and he said, "Oh, look at this. This is going to be a pass." And I said, if they turn around and run this ball, it's going to be open. And it was like a parting of the Red Sea, and Najee bust through for like 16 or 20, or it was something crazy. And what I wanted to bring up, you can talk more about specific plays, is that I said this to you after the game. When we've gone and sat at the stadium before, every time they come out, you see who the Steelers have in, the formation they come out in, you could say what the play is going to be. Every time, it felt like. This time, there were times, but not as much. Not as much. Ben Roethlisberger was, Kevin broke this down today for a nice article, that there was times where, it was the run pass option where he was making the decision pre-snap and, made the decision based on how the defense was aligned. And therefore, you didn't know exactly what they were going to do. But what are your thoughts on that? Did you feel like this offense, from what we have seen in stadium before, wasn't as, it's dead obvious they're going to do this right here?
Correct. Yes, it was not as obvious. I'm just trying to remember if that run play you're talking about was the one where Najee ended up basically with 2 lead blockers. He had Freiermuth come back and hit the hole first, followed by
Cody White was
followed by a pulling Kevin Dotson.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know which play you're thinking of.
Okay,
and I think the one I'm thinking of, that was a great play too. They were both. I think the other one was one with Cody White, got right up in there, which is where people started to notice that he could run block pretty good. Okay, really, really good stuff. Just it seems, for those people that think it's the same offense, It's not. It's not. It is. You can see so much difference just as the season's going on that things are just. I mean, the usage of the blockers, the usage of the tight ends, and everything that goes into stuff like that with the running game. It's different. It's different, and boy,
and we're getting just a little more and a little more every week.
Yeah, and against who was supposed to be the best defense. I mean, Buffalo's defense is really ranked up there right now, but obviously no one was ranked there when they actually played them, because they've had a couple shutouts since then and things like that. But this defense through 5 games was the only statistical category where they weren't in the top 5 was they were number 6 against the pass. Other than that, Denver is top 5 in everything, and the Steelers ran on them at will, and they threw on them at will. Would you say that?
I would say that, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, even though Ben was only 15 of 25, it was never like this. It was never like you felt like the Steelers couldn't do either one, and that's balance. That's balance. Feeling like you can go to either type of play at any time and it'd be successful. So we spent a lot of time on the offense, but then again, there was a lot on the offense that they needed to build on. I mean, the Steelers offense hadn't scored more than 17 points in a game, and they put up 27 against the best defense they'd seen. So, all right, Rich. So anything else with the offense? You ready to go defense?
Nope, but we can go to defense.
All right. So what about the defense? What there do you think they can build on, or is there some stuff that was even a little bit more concerning that they need to improve based on what we saw in stadium?
All right, what I liked in stadium was the first 3 possessions for Denver. We went 3 and out. The defense held them to 3 and out.
Their first down was that big run down
the long run. Yes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, how huge then was that tackle by James Pierre to keep him out of the end zone?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was gone, and then he got him. And when he came up and spiked the ball, I'm like, he can't do that. They got to flag that or something. And they didn't throw it right away. But
no, it was quite a little bit before they threw it, and then it was like,
I just think they haven't seen it in the NFL like that for so long that players just know you can only spike the ball hard like that on a touchdown, that they were like, okay, what do we call it? What's the penalty? What is it? But yeah, they had to do that. So, yeah, that I like that. I mean, they pretty much shut them down through 3 quarters. It was 205 yards, I think, that they had in the fourth quarter of their, I think, 374. So you're talking about through three quarters of the game, they had, under 200 yards. They really did a good job early on. But then you had some of those chunk plays and some big stuff. Someone I'm trying to think about it. Where was this? Was I listening to Jeff's Let's Ride, or I'm trying to remember, might have been the post-game show where I was listening and someone was saying this, and I'm like, that is such a good point. Is if Ben Roethlisberger gets a bunch of yards in a game where the Steelers are down multiple scores and he has no choice but to throw the ball a bunch, people say, oh, who cares about his stats? Then that was just, he was only throwing because he had to, and the defense was playing soft. But yet when the Steelers on the defense on that, and they're like, oh, they gave up way too many yards late and things like that. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. Either you give credit when the Steelers offense does it when they're in that situation, or you say, hey, the defense was just, making them take too much time. I'm a little concerned of how things went in the fourth quarter, but it was kind of a perfect storm. I'm kind of setting this up from what my number one thing to build on is. It was a perfect storm of some things. You didn't have Najee late in the game because of cramps. That really, you saw the difference in the offense. It was one of those things where, the offense isn't quite going the same. I mean, I still think rather than kick that field goal to go up 8, it would have been nice to just get the first down and be in victory formation and win by 5. That would have been nice. the other thing is I'm like, oh, if it's 4th and 1 and Najee's good, do you think they would have gone for it? My answer to that was, I don't think it's 4th and 1 because I think Najee gets the first down on 3rd down. But that's just me. So there was that. But on defense, when things started to go a little bit, helter skelter, was when Devin Bush went out. And my biggest thing to build on was the Steelers' inside linebackers put together the best game that they had so far in 2021. They had been accused of, where are they, disappearing, things like that. But if you look at it, especially with Devin Bush, what Devin Bush and Joe Schobert was giving Steeler fans what you were wanting to see from those two players going into the season. It just took some time to get there. And unfortunately, I think we see maybe what was going on a little bit with Devin Bush. He missed the game with a groin injury. Then he comes back and he seems like he's like a step slow. This game, he seemed like he was right on it, and then he hurt the groin again. We don't know if it's the same one or not. Tomlin wouldn't admit it today. What was your assessment of the inside linebackers?
Yeah, I thought they were playing pretty well. I will say this: Joe Schobert can cover. He's a good cover inside linebacker. He was doing, especially when he was getting matched up on Noah Fant, he was doing a really nice job of, for lack of a better term, shutting him down. We didn't hear a ton of Fant in that game, and he was what I was worried about, actually.
3 receptions.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And it's funny because Coach Tom was saying, Denver did what they needed to do, and they had to keep him in to pass block more than they have in other games. So we're like, hey, if that's part of what takes him out as well, that's great. But he was still out there. I know there was one play, people like, oh, Schobert on that. I can't even remember who it was too. But someone pointed out that there was a guy that got behind him, but he should have been the guy that shouldn't have been his guy. I think it was actually James Pierre that should have been a little bit deeper on that one. I mean, and when it comes, just to mention, since I said James Pierre, he had some really good plays, and then he had some not so good ones, like the long touchdown. And as you can see, he's a good physical corner, but his strength is not speed against the deep ball is the main thing. So that's where he'll probably get picked on when he has to play from this point going on, because otherwise he does a lot of other things really well. But I want to see Joe Schobert continue to grow in the Steelers defense. So that's honestly what I would like to see. I think a lot of people had really high expectations for him. They had, let's just say this, they had Cleveland Brown Joe Schobert playing against the Steelers' expectations, and not any other time you watch Joe Schobert other than when he did so well against the Steelers, if you know what I mean. Steeler fans saw the best, some of the best film he had put out there, which was against the Steelers. And he's still a good player, and I think he's growing into it. But what's more important is those two players growing together. Unfortunately, I don't know if we'll get to see that this week. We'll just have to wait and see what the injury report.
See.
So, what else with the defense? Maybe something else we could throw out there.
I want to see Cam Hayward just continue to be Cam Hayward. Just manhandle people, but my gosh, that guy is phenomenal at knocking down passes. He had another 2 passes defensed in the game.
Oh, did he? I didn't look at that stat. You're probably right there.
He knocked down 2.
2 more for him. So, wow. Yeah, I'm looking that up right now because I want to see if anybody else. I didn't look at passes defense. James Pierre had 2.
Yeah,
and yes,
2.
Cam Hayward had 2.
Yes.
It was really nice to see Henry Mondo get a sack.
Oh, too.
He had been close and not finishing plays. Jeffrey Benedict says he's the Steelers' second best pass rusher on the defensive line. He just needs work on against the run. And I could see that. Isaiah Loudermilk had a sack that didn't happen because of a penalty. But yeah, go ahead.
Mondo almost had a sack earlier in the game. Because Kyle loves that guy. Okay. Yeah. And I kind of do too. So he had a game. the first time he came close, he had fantastic hands. Like on the snap, he came up, he knocked down the blocker's hands, did a rip move, got under him. The guy kind of pushed him in the back, and so he was going to the ground, but still got in around the quarterback. And then on the second one, just was a beautiful spin move and right in. And
and he did what he's done in the past. He went for the feet of the quarterback, but he got him this time. There's been times where I've seen him where I'm like, oh, get him. Oh, they missed him. And it was Mondo being right there and just not being able to quite finish it. And he finished it this time. So that was nice.
Yep. So here, I'm going to throw that one up there.
Okay.
I agree with this, Brian Blackstock, that Mullet made some good plays too.
I was just getting ready to mention something about him.
Then go for it, because I thought he played really well.
Oh yeah, he did. He did play well. And you mentioned passes defense for the Steelers. There were 7 of them. So Cam Hayward got his hands on 2, and so did James Pierre. The other ones who had him was Joe Schobert had 1, Joe Hayden had 1, and Arthur Millette had 1. He played more snaps than he had in any other game of the season. And like I said, love him, hate him, doesn't matter. If you look at him, he had the highest PFF score of the Steelers secondary for the game. So had a real nice game, doing the things that they need him to do. And they utilized him more in sub package with Cam Sutton being out. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes.
So so the defense, it's kind of more of a, they're missing guys every week. It really is. It was nice to see Trent Jordan Watt get back to his normal play, if you know what I mean, back to what you expect. And of course, then you see Cam Hayward constantly having 2 or 3 guys trying to block him, and him still just disrupting things just because it's who he is. So sorry, we haven't mentioned the Beehive in the live chat, but I do want to say one thing. I've got to bust on Bad a little bit. I didn't even tell him personally. I told Jeff about this. Hate to tell you guys this because I know they brought it up on the post game show, and then Jeff even mentioned it. Let's Ride. Najee Harris's middle name is not Jerome. It's not. That was a joke that was put out there. And then I think it got put on Wikipedia. Just because it would make sense because his last name's Harris. After Franco, that all his middle name should be Jerome. Ha ha, funny. And then people actually rolled with that. So for those of you hearing that, don't want you to think I'm picking on Bad and Jeff because I'm like, man, I miss a show, and you guys have all kinds of bad information. It's kind of funny. So, Rich, let's real quick talk about the game. I mean, we talked about these things to build on because, like Mike Tomlin said, even still at this point of the season, it's more about the Steelers. It's more about them than it is their opponent. They have to focus on doing what they do and doing everything better. And that's why we've been focused on that so much. But the Steelers do play the Seattle Seahawks this Sunday. What are your thoughts? You've got Geno Smith coming in with Russell Wilson out for a while. You've got some big, can burn you deep, get the big chunk plays receivers. But you've got a defense that's really struggling, and I'm pretty sure it's the run game that they're struggling even more. So, any thoughts on Seattle coming in?
The Seattle defense is not the Legion of Boom that they used to be.
No,
that's going to be the area I think where our offense needs to continue to do like we did the last game, control the line of scrimmage. Ball control, really control time of possession, and do those things so the defense gets the chance to rest, so they are able to cover those deep threats that you have for Seattle, and I like the Steelers' chances more in this game if we can put together an offensive game plan that looked a lot like last week.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing that sometimes frustrates Steelers fans to no end. When the Steelers have a favorable matchup against something, it seems like they don't do a very good job of it. When they have a tough matchup against something, then they excel. Prime example, going up against these defenses. Denver had a real stout defense, really good against the run and everything else. Seattle is 31st in the NFL against the run and 30th against the pass. With the Steelers, getting to the 27 points scored by the offense, only having to punch twice, which we do have to admit, that's something the Steelers need to build on is how about some booming punts by one big press? That's a good thing to build on. But that you can't go. I mean, that was the problem. It seemed like last year, every time the Steelers were like, oh, well, they're not running the ball well, but this team doesn't defend the run very well. And then the Steelers still wouldn't be able to run the ball. So I really want to see them be able to come out here and really just pound the rock against Seattle that struggled to stop the run this year so far. Sound about right?
Yep, does.
Yeah, because I still think Seattle's offense is going to score points. They have playmakers in the backfield and wide receivers that are going to make plays. So the Steelers are going to have to do what they can do. So anything else you want to say about them before we do scores?
Nah, I'm all right. Just we need to not worry about Seattle. We need to come in and just play our game. We need to do if we can do the things like we were doing them in the game against Denver, I think we'll be okay against Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. Continue to focus on what you do and do it well, regardless of the nameless gray faces. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead. You're going to give your score prediction. I hold mine until the Steelers preview show on Thursday. But for those of you that might be new here, don't put your score in the live chat until you actually see me ask for it in the live chat, because we're going to give Rich a chance to give say your piece, and then we'll go and we'll read them off. So go ahead, Rich.
All right. So I picked against the Steelers last week. Wes was in here giving me crap about it earlier, but I'm sorry. I just did not have any confidence, especially in the offense going into that game.
No. You've got to explain it right.
What?
Why did you believe that the Steelers were not going to win on Sunday? It had nothing to do with them. It had nothing to do with the offense. It had to do with it had everything to do with who was sitting in the seat next to you.
Yeah, it was. It's because I was taking Kyle, so I had to go with
the curse of Kyle is broken.
With the curse of Kyle, but now he's managed to break that curse. Now he's expecting to go to the Bears game. So, yeah.
So he's pretty happy. So that's that. We do have to say that. You knew you were taking Kyle. You had to predict your score accordingly. So you will happily.
But I am liking the trend I saw, or we've slowly been seeing. Like we saw a little bit the week before last against Green Bay, but we saw a lot more this past week with where we feel the offense is going. If the offense can continue in that direction, I see the Steelers having a very good week this week. Now, defensively, it's going to come down to, honestly, it's going to come down to who plays. If Devin Bush doesn't play, it's going to be a little tougher. If Devin Bush does play, I'm feeling a little better about things. All in all, I am going to go with the good guys at home at prime time this week, and I'm going with Steelers 27, Seahawks 24.
All right, so you're going with the 27 score again, that they can do it back-to-back weeks. I mean, that's I like it. That makes sense. I don't know how I'm going to go with it yet, so I'm glad I don't have to decide tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up for everyone in the live chat to give us their scores. So we have opened that up, and
while everybody's throwing them in there,
okay.
Part of that going for me is. And keeping that score close is not knowing the status of Devin Bush.
Yeah.
And a couple of these other guys. When we get to our staff prediction article on the website, I might change my score.
You might change it based on knowing who's available. That's your you can change yours because you have to do it so early in the week. So you are fine with that. So here we go. We got Steeler Tank. He's got Steelers 24, Seahawks 13. We've got George Teston, Steelers 42, 23. Wow. Go big or go home. Hey, if there's going to be a week after last week, you can feel a little bit more confidence with the Steelers actually scoring some points. Brian Brown says 31-20 Steelers. Steeler Chick 46 says Steelers 28, Seattle 17. Steel Dog 88 has the Steelers winning 28-17 with 2 TDs from Najee. George OTJ says saying Bush plays, he's got Steelers 34, Seahawks 16. Okay, Devin Logan has 24-16 Steelers. Brian Blackstock has 38-18 Steelers. He's got Naj and Muth scoring, both of them in the same game for the first time, right? Yes. Yeah, I don't think they scored in the same game before. I don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure I'm going by memory. I'm not going by stat sheet. Okay. Steelers Pittsburgh says 27-20. That is Steelers when you just put a score in there. Looking for another score. Gabriel Golden, 27-17. Steelers putting his 10-0 record in games that he attends on the line. So he will be there at the stadium. There we go. Come on, Gabriel, bring it home. Okay. Faustino Flores says 31-16 Steelers. Brighton Barnes says 35-17 Steelers. Let's go. Let's get after Geno. Hey, that I'd like to see him get some sacks. I haven't looked at how many sacks Seattle is surrendered and stuff. I break that down more for Stat Geek. So I'll get there. I'm still looking at last week's stats from last week's game. Wave Dave 10. I like that name. 33-14. That would be Steelers. Clarence Washington has 28-16 Steelers. Moneybags 27-17 Steelers. Mark Tobin 24-10 Steelers. John Luff 40-20 Steelers. Sherry Richards has Steelers 34. She says chickens. We'll say sea chickens.
Sea chickens.
Sea chickens 27. Okay. Greg Carbone. Greg, Steelers 21-17. Kathy Ford says 35-21. We win. Okay. David Poe, 34-20 Steelers. Knight Rider 16, 31-20 Steelers. Okay. Joseph Brown, 35-17 Steelers. Reginald Rivers, 31-17 Steelers. Sundar, 24-23 Steelers on a last-second field goal. Don't get me started on field goal. Anyone who watched the Monday night game instantly had a greater appreciation for Chris Boswell because that was just kind of frustrating. That team to my east keeps winning games they shouldn't win against teams that aren't very good. So, but I wish the Steelers could do that. But the Steelers aren't playing teams that aren't very good. I mean,
all right, come on, let's roll.
All right, Felicia. Hey, Felicia. She says slow game 23-21 Steelers. Okay. Cherry Man says Steelers 24, Jets 16. Interesting. I wonder if that's a Jamal Adams reference. I don't know. If you know what I mean. Who was traded there. Where are we? Tyler W. 31-16 Steelers in a statement win. Got some just other people talk about that. Outside Steelers fan, 31-14, good guys. Okay. A lot of people getting some scores up in the 30s, thinking that the Steelers can build on their offensive performance. What was that? The Packers-Bengal game was a lot crazier with their mistake. I didn't get to see it, though.
They were.
That was the problem. It was, watching the highlights, but the game on Monday night, I was, experiencing watching it live, where that one, I just had to see the highlights because we were at the Steelers game. But yeah, that one, but that was on both sides.
You better get that one in.
Oh, we got to get BMK. We got to get the artist formerly known as Solarverse up there. He has 28-9 Steelers. Okay. You know what? He's in or close to Pittsburgh now, so we can watch both games, bring it home again. Okay. I get it now. Hold on. Because of this. Brian Brown said, didn't some Jets players break Geno's jaw? Now I see why he's saying Jets, because it's also, Geno Smith is another one of those that was from the Jets. So maybe that's what he was. I'm sorry if I missed it. My bad. Rajon 39, 20-16 Steelers. Tom Is that
Tom? That's Todd.
Tom. Did I say Tom?
You
Todd.
said Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. Okay. Todd Faherty. I'm pretty sure I got that right. Steelers 24-21. I was so focused on the last name and not screwing it up. I didn't even say
you
that
messed
first
up.
name. Sorry, Todd. So hopefully, we got a score update from Felicia. We got 3-0 Penguins now. Hey, there we go. So I'll take that.
Not hey. There we go. It's hey. There we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was 7:21 left. 3-0. There we go. Bring it home to open the season. Take down the Stanley Cup champs. Go Pens. So, but this is a Steelers podcast. But hey, we love all things Pittsburgh, don't we? That's the last one I have here.
That's the last one I was seeing.
You guys did great, giving us your scores yet again. We love doing that at the end of the show. Anything you want to say here to close out, Rich? Man, it was just great being in Pittsburgh, wasn't it? The drive.
It was so nice. It felt like we were just at the stadium yesterday, but it had been so long. Really had. But it felt really good to be back there in the stadium, and I even didn't mind the climb all the way up to my nosebleed seats. So
here we have one coming in late. We have M Marcus 39 says 27-14 Steelers. Oh, and here's another one. Oh, I missed it.
Keep going.
Ron Reed says 24-16 or Steelers 24, Seahawks 16. I'll say this. It had been a long even though I felt like I'd just been there, what had been a long time for me, the experience that I enjoyed going to the Steeler game. It wasn't just about a win, because I saw of the games I went to in 2019, not counting the preseason game, 2 of the 3 games they had won, although they had lost the last one I had attended. But what was nice was going to that game. It was the first time in a very long time that I attended a game at Heinz Field when God intended football to be played at 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
Okay. I had not been to a 1 p.m. game for a long time. And I finally got to go. The last one was when you and I went together to the Falcons game in 2018. Was the last 1 o'clock game I'd been to. I mean, even going to counting the preseason, 4 games in 2019, none of them were at 1 o'clock. Boy, was it nice. I get up, get to the stadium, enjoy the game, get home, and and it's not 5 o'clock in the morning. It was great. I love the whole experience. So glad that got to travel with you and Kyle, and that my son Gabriel could really enjoy his first experience there. Broke the curse of Kyle. Everything that we wanted out of that game was just, that's what we wanted. And most importantly, I don't want to say that the Steelers are back or anything like that. They put together one good game. But what we were talking about today is the things they need to build on, because one good game does not a season make. Because we understand that, because that's what we got in week 1, you got to win. And then you had to deal with 3 losses. You can't be 1 win, 1 step forward, 3 steps back constantly. The Steelers, they need to build on this and keep going. Rich, what else would you like to say here tonight to close us out?
Really just, going into this week, the chance to bring it back to 500. Bring it back to 500. Then we get the chance to rest up for the bye, come on out and see what we can do after that, right?
Haven't had a bye in 2 years, right?
Yeah. So
exactly.
So just, as much as it pains me to say, we're hoping for 500 at the end of this week. You know what? That's not a horrible place to be. So,
prime time.
Bring it home, Steelers. Can't wait.